Welcome to the Blue BRZ podcast hosted by yours truly. My name is Eli. I hope everyone is having a wonderful night. If you're new to the car scene or new to podcasts, you're in the right place. We're going to be talking about everything from first builds all the way over to blown motors. So here, I hope you're willing to stay for the ride. This will be our first episode on the general state of the car scene. Joined here today with me, we have two wonderful guests that will have their shared thoughts on this topic, starting with Andrew and then Daniel. Would you guys please introduce yourselves?
Good evening, everyone. My name's Andrew. I drive a 2010 Audi A4.
Hey everyone, my name is Daniel. I drive a 2016 Scion FRS.
Wonderful. So I'm going to first start by asking you guys, either one of you can answer first. Why did you choose to get those specific cars? Andrew, if you'd like to go first.
Originally, it started out as a commuter car. My truck just sucked down way too much gas. And next thing you know, I ended up putting a bigger turbo in and widebodying the car, and now I'm back in the truck as my daily.
Gotcha. Daniel, if you want to talk about yours.
Yeah, for me, I actually moved here to the States about 10 years ago, and so I saw the FRS driving on the road, and I was kind of intrigued by how it looked and everything, and I promised myself that was going to be my first car, and when I turned 16, I went and leased a brand new FRS right off the showroom and wide bodied it literally like the month that I got it and everything. Yeah, it was kind of risky. But
where are you from originally, if you don't mind me asking?
Pakistan.
Oh, that's cool. That's cool.
Yeah. So I saw the car driving on the road. I really liked it, and I told myself I was going to buy that car. I was between a couple cars at the time because I just got into the car scene kind of pretty early in my life. So. Yeah.
Right. No, I totally get that. We're going to move straight into what made you get into the car scene. So we know now why you chose to get that specific car, but is there a reason that you got into the car scene specifically? Like after you started getting your car, started building it up, was there any other reason?
For me, it was kind of just a day by day kind of thing. Once I got it, I just realized that this platform that the FRS came in was really customizable to exactly what you wanted. No two cars are the same, you know what I mean?
Right, it's a good Lego piece car.
Exactly, yeah. So you can kind of put it together. The car scene wise, what made me get into the car scene was mostly attending my first car meet, kind of realizing how big the car scene here was and all the love and support that people show for other people's builds and like how intrigued other people are by what you're working on.
Right.
That's what made me kind of get into the car scene.
No, good points. Yeah, it's pretty similar to me why I got into the car scene. Andrew, you want to talk about yours?
Yeah. Well, like I said before, I ended up getting my car as a commuter to save on gas, and then it kind of started in high school. I spent hours just going on to like Subaru or Chevy, building the Camaros and the STIs, and I guess that's how it kind of started. And then when I was looking at buying like my first project car, freshman year of college, which is the Audi, if that ended up being the project car.
Right.
I wanted to build something different, and I love Subarus. I really wanted one for a long time, but everyone in my town had a Subaru, so I wanted to just kind of branch off and see what I could do with an Audi, and I'm pretty happy with the outcome so far. There's still a lot more work to do on it, but
always is in the cars.
And getting into the car scene, it was a buddy that I actually worked with in real estate, and he had a 04 STI hatchback, and he took me for a ride in that. And that was like kind of the moment where I was like, all right, I'll go to a car meet, see what it's like. And next thing you know, I'm surrounded by a couple hundred cars, and I couldn't just not stop at every car and ask, what did you do to this? And that's kind of carried over throughout the rest of college so far too.
That's great. It sounds like you both had really good introductions into the car scene. No real negativity. It was kind of just you got sprung into an area that you found enjoyment in.
For me, I would personally say that the car scene's somewhat positive, but also negative in some other ways, if you know what I mean. I mean, the most controversial thing out there right now, which I know of, is buying an automatic like sports car. It's like frowned upon in the car scene. You know what I mean?
Save the manuals. Yep.
Yeah.
I know the whole thing. Yep.
Yeah. So I mean, that's one of the negatives that I see in there. Positive, like some of the positives is like everyone does support your build, depending on like what you do to it and stuff like that. Not, I mean, like if you're. I mean, in the car scene itself, a lot of people want to go for
as long as you don't sprinkle too much rice.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. That's either going to make or break your view on the car scene. If how you like kind of what kind of feedback you get from other people.
Right.
I mean, positively, like like I said, when I went to my first car meet, there was a lot of support and everything that I saw. People like Andrew said, people are asking other people what they did to their cars or having a good time just talking to other people, meeting new people, and respecting other people's builds. But personally, I would say it's like it's in a good positive and negative. There's a good positive and negative like balance to it. But right now, as for me, I see more of a positive outcome in the car scene just because I mean, personally, I don't really talk trash about other people, and I don't respect any in return. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so you have a pretty good like positive outlook on it, and you're pretty positive towards people yourself.
Yep.
Actually, I wanted to ask you real quick about that that whole manual and automatic situation. So, where do you stand on that? Do you care really, or is it just for you?
Well, personally, I do like driving manuals, but automatics at the same time are really nice too. I mean,
right.
I mean, if you're looking at, for example, like let's say a Z06 Corvette. In a manual, it's really nice to have, but also an automatic, it's awesome to have too. Just because, I mean, with automatic, it's just you have constant power. There's no having to like switch gears, no like lag between you switching gears. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And especially in like the much faster cars, like let's say for the supercars or like the 1,000 horsepower Supras or the Skylines, like automatic, I think is the way to go in those kind of cars. And so I don't see having an automatic or manual as a negative, in my opinion.
And you wouldn't bash anyone for it, right? I can't see you bashing anyone for it, but I would imagine.
No. Yeah.
Yeah.
Personally,
yeah, you seem like a stand-up guy, positive attitude all around. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I personally wouldn't get my car in automatic, the FRS in automatic, or like an STI in automatic, just because those cars are a lot of fun, just because they're super responsive. Like, yeah. So like, I personally wouldn't like having an automatic in those kind of cars, but I wouldn't. I mean, I might tease the person a little bit, but of course, it's all positive.
Okay, yeah, it's all like friendly banter. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Andrew, what are your stances on that? How do you feel about the whole automatic versus manuals?
For me, it's pretty split 50-50. Like, I don't hate on automatics because, you know, at the end of the day, it comes down to like, what are you doing with your car? And, you know, like you're talking about with those big horsepower builds that people are doing, like the twin turbo Lamborghinis or the 1,400 horsepower GTRs, like having those automatic transmissions help a lot putting down that power and that boost too. I mean, when you're talking about that much power going to the wheels, you know, you're going to have something eventually fail. But I think it would be better off like just launching the car even with automatics is a lot more efficient, I would have to say, especially with those shift points. Especially when those transmissions get tuned too. I mean, those things will flip through gears like nothing. But on the other hand, I do really enjoy driving a manual. You know, you feel like you're driving the car, like you're part of the car, not just sitting in it.
Right.
So I'm split 50-50 on that, but I don't hate on either because I enjoy both for different reasons. And when I see someone pull up with, let's say, like an FRS like Daniel, you know, I know the automatics in the FRS, BRZ 86, they're pretty good up to like what 350 horsepower for that.
Yeah.
You can still throw turbos and superchargers on and still have a great time. Mm-hmm. So I don't really see a downfall besides that maybe that connection with like the road, that driving experience that everyone feels who does drive a manual.
Right.
I guess that's my 2 cents, but I wouldn't really give anyone a hard time for owning one either.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And then kind of just following back onto Daniel talking about the car community, I would have to say I'm kind of split 50-50 on, the positivity and the negativity. I actually did one of my first big car shows, I guess. I did Hot Import Nights up in Colorado Springs. And I was walking up and down the rows heading back to my car to sit down, and I had my hood popped open, and my turbo sits kind of below the engine, or on the side downwards of the engine block. And
Right.
I remember this kid, he was probably 15 or 16 tops, and it looked like he was having a great time looking out of the cars, but when I was standing near him, I could hear him talk to his buddy and say, "Oh, this car's fully stock. Like, the only thing you did was his intake manifold. Like, there's nothing else done to this."
So he was talking trash.
Yeah, and I was just like, I mean, hey, where's your car? I don't see.
Honda Civic or something like that. Yeah.
But like that, it just kind of hurt to hear that when you put in a lot of time and effort, and someone starts talking bad about your car. It's not a good feeling, especially when you hear it firsthand.
Yeah, of course not. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'd have to say,
and I think it's become really common, right? People like just kind of glance over someone's build, and it's really easy from their perspective to just talk trash about your build, but they don't know the time, they don't know the effort that you put into it. And then maybe it's just for you having the car is already a plus for you. Like, you're already happy with that.
Mm-hmm.
And to them, they'll just find any reason to bash on it. But you don't know what someone else is going through in their life, and that car could be their one saving grace. That could be their connection.
Well, going back on it, like, so Eli and Andrew, like, for example, if I walked up to your guys' car, I know both of your guys' cars are wide bodied, right?
Yeah, that's great.
Yeah, okay. So, like, if I was to walk up to one of your guys' car at a car meet or anything like that, I've gone through the experience of having to wide body my own car and going through all that pain and hassle and money and all that stuff. So I can, like, of course, I'll, like, personally, like, someone that's gone through the experience of building their own project and everything like that, I'll personally respect it, just because since I've experienced all that pain and stuff, I don't see other people talking trash as long as they've experienced the hardships of actually building your own project.
Right. I think it's also this is a key topic that I was thinking about, actually, how the younger generations that are getting into cars now, for some reason, I don't know, I guess they're clout chasing or whatever it is. It's cool to just do takeovers, things like that. And I feel like, personally, I think it's ruining the car scene. Takeovers, I don't know, have been just causing problems from what I've been seeing in my feed, and from personal people I've talked with. It's just been causing issues. And I don't know if you guys saw, there was a takeover actually in California, in San Fran, and it was on a major highway. And because it was on a major highway, it was actually blocking access that an ambulance needed to take the highway to get to the quickest way to the hospital. And because of the takeover blocking the main entrance and exits to the highway, they weren't able to make it, and someone almost died from it. Luckily, they lived through it, but
Yeah, I have to agree with the takeovers. It was about a year ago. I was down in San Diego visiting a buddy that goes to San Diego State, and I drove my Audi down all the way from Colorado, and I was super excited to go to a meet down there. And this was before I had my car wide bodied, and I just was excited to go into an area that has a lot more cars, a lot more culture, I would say. Bigger population, like you were talking about in San Francisco for those takeovers.
right.
And when I was down there, it was a Friday night. We were all getting ready, washed up the cars, and my buddy gets a call and says, "Hey, the meet's canceled. There's a bunch of people trying to do a takeover right before the meet, and the cops are everywhere." And that was, like, really unfortunate to hear, because as someone who traveled, multiple states to go see some really cool builds that people are working on, it was kind of a disappointment at the same time to, get there and actually not be able to take it all in, I guess.
Right. It kind of ruined your experience that you went there for.
Yeah.
Right. Daniel, how do you feel on takeovers? What's your stance on that?
Personally, I haven't been to any takeovers, or I haven't really heard of many here in Colorado. I've just kind of heard of swing shows in Denver where they kind of close down the streets and just kind of do burnouts, donuts, all that stuff. Um, my from seeing that, I do see that it kind of does ruin the car scene, just because if many people are going to, like a lot of car enthusiasts are actually, I would say, a little skeptic of like getting pulled over, getting ticketed for the dumbest reasons. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like those kind of takeovers really kind of ruin our experience with like the public, for example. So like if there's people that are also like police and like law enforcement, so they'd be more inclined to ticket you, get you in trouble if there's a lot of crap going on around your city. You know what I mean?
Right.
So like I have a buddy down in Arizona where they have swing shows, like there's like the donuts stuff, all that crap, every single night almost, and he's gone through so many tickets just for even tint on like just a truck. So like just because of those shows and everything like that, it's kind of ruined the picture of like the car scene in eyes of law enforcement, and also like the public, that they don't see it as a hobby, they see it as more of a crime. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I could definitely see it moving towards that. I think the more it gets more news coverage and the more people that start talking about it online, especially, it's easy to kind of change the stigma to where it's a hobby to it becoming something of a criminal act. And sadly, that's what it seems to be snowballing into.
Yeah.
But I know a lot of people are still trying to save it, and I'm happy to see that there's a lot of positivity that's still being spread throughout the car community. And even with like charity meets, right? Charity meets are a great way to, advertise that people are just here to look at the cars. It's a good cause, give back to the community. And I think small things like that are what really start bringing back a good name for the car community.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, I agree on that one too.
I think there's a lot more that could be done, but for now, I think small little steps like that is what's going to make a big difference in the future for us. I don't know if you guys have anything else to add on top of that, but that was my kind of 2 cents on it.
Yeah, I definitely agree that like having kind of more charity events, because with charity events, it's just like a normal car show, but you're also raising money to help fund a good cause. So that's
right.
And in view of like law enforcement, public, and also like the car scene, that I see that as a very, very positive thing.
One thing I actually noticed, you guys have probably heard of it, like Omaze, I think is what it's called, where they like do a car giveaway, but the money that they receive goes to charity of some sort. They pick the charity and all the proceeds go to that. Like, I think that's a really cool thing that they're doing. We've all heard of 80/80 and how you buy their apparel and you have a chance to win, a GTR or a Lamborghini or whatever it may be. I thought it's just really cool how this company took a different route to use it as, I just want to say good PR for the car community, to show that, like, we're not just kids that are, boosting their cars or anything like that. Like, we're actual enthusiasts that, care about our communities that we're in, especially the car community.
Definitely a strong point. And I think the more we keep moving forward with these small little good acts and positive attitudes, I think it's what's really going to make the difference for us. Personally, with what you just said about what was the name of that company? I'm sorry, Omaze.
I think it's called Omaze.
Omaze.
I'm sure someone will correct me. But
I think a lot of people also see those kinds of posts as more positive, right? Just like how you were saying, and it's getting a lot of traction from what at least I've seen, like 80/80 and Tuner Cole, all those people that kind of just advertise like, hey, like, win this car by doing this or this, and then they give back to charity. I think it's just a positive start. All right, so now we're going to move into our third conversation for tonight. It's going to be tips for beginners. So this area is where we want to focus on. We can talk about tips that can help you with your first new build, or what not to do specifically, areas to avoid, and areas that can just help you grow. So Daniel, do you want to start with maybe one tip that you would focus on when starting with your brand new build?
One tip that I would probably tell beginners from experience would be definitely find a reputable shop to work with, because there's only so much you can do by yourself that you might not have access to equipment or anything, but like find a good shop that you can rely on and you know that they'll do a good job. Just because I've gone through a couple shops in my build and they've been kind of disappointing, to be honest, somewhat.
Right.
And just like recently when I repainted my whole car, that took about a year, if I'm saying, and just a year for the car just to be sitting in the shop. Pretty much, I was told it's gonna take 2-3 months to do it, but like at the same time, they were just tacking on charges which they weren't telling me. So I ended up overpaying. So like I would personally recommend trying to find a good shop that you can rely on and trust with your build, just because it's not just a build, it's your time and money that you've put into it. And just by taking it to a shop that might just be a little sketchy or anything like that, that could ruin your whole car experience.
I 100% agree. I personally have a shop that I go to all the time as a Venom Motorsports. Thank you guys for always helping me out. Knowing a shop personally and getting someone to constantly work on your car, they're going to know your car better than anyone else. They're going to be able to tell you specifically what you need to fix if something ever goes wrong, if you need help, something, recommendations. And I think it's always important to have a good relationship with them. Maybe sometimes they'll toss you some freebies your way, or if you ever have any questions, they might not charge you like other shops just to get you a diagnostic or whatever it is. So it's definitely a good idea to become good friends with a shop, or just have a specific shop that you go to every time. Andrew, do you want to add? Oh, I'm sorry, Daniel. Go ahead.
No, you're good. I was just saying I agreed.
Andrew, do you want to add on top of that?
Yeah. I guess my best recommendation is like do your research, on your car, or the one you're looking at getting. And that was something I didn't really do a ton of research on when I first got my A4. Because originally, like I said, it was supposed to be a commuter. And, as I'm going down this road of building it and trying to make it a little faster and, look good, I also ran into problems like, okay, well, like I want to make 400 horsepower on my A4, but
right.
a lot of limitations to fueling on my car. And there's just not a lot of aftermarket support for it compared to your guys' BRZ and FRS. So that was definitely something I wish I knew before doing research. And then I guess the other thing is like always have a buddy that's been in the car community for a while that's either running a similar build or year gen compared to your car. And it's always easy to ask a buddy for advice. And I'm not saying like they're going to be right all the time, but it's also nice to get a little insight from someone that's had that previous experience on working on their car or their build.
Right.
And I think that's like probably the biggest takeaway for beginners is, putting that little bit of extra time, just doing that research, and it's going to pay off massively in the long run.
I want to recommend this to any new beginners, any first-time builders. Don't be afraid to message people that you've seen build online. If you see someone on Instagram, TikTok, whatever it is, and you really like the build or really like something that they did with it, and you have a question, maybe it's a similar car or something that could be put on yours, universal maybe. Don't be afraid to message them. 9 out of 10 times, at least in my personal experience, they will respond. They're more than happy to. You may find that one person that doesn't want to or doesn't respond, but 9 out of 10 times they will respond. And it's always good to get perspective on how something was done. So that way, when you go into it, maybe they identified something that you might miss at the first time, and this time you won't miss it because they told you how it goes. So that's definitely something I would, consider looking into.
Being on the Western Slope in Colorado, there's not a lot of tuning options or performance shops down here. We don't even have an all-wheel drive dyno down here. I'd have to go all the way to Denver and visit Blue Water Performance or probably like Shorty's Racing even.
It's a stretch, yeah.
Yeah, to get my car dynoed. And even to this day, I've had my car for 2.5 years now, and I have no clue how much power it makes.
I'm on the same boat. Haven't done it,
which is funny. So yeah, I would definitely say research is a big thing.
And Andrew, touching up on that research thing, to kind of show you like a personal experience, when I first got the car and got my first wide body kit, I didn't do my research, to be honest. I bought a replica kit. So buying a rep kit, it was literally like 10 times harder to line it up with the car, pretty much every single thing that I had to do. And it just made everything so much more tougher. And because I didn't do my research, I didn't know rep kits fit that good. I just thought, hey, they're a fraction of the price. I can wide body my car for even cheaper, But
I definitely thought the same thing at one point, 100%.
In my car, I had to do quite a bit of bonder work because it's not really, there's no kits for the A4s really. So when I got my kit, it definitely needed a lot of work. So that's extremely relatable. And I would have to say brand names are definitely a way to go in this industry. And obviously you can cut corners elsewhere, but if you're doing any body work or aesthetics, I have to say, go with those brand names because they're trustworthy. And if something happens, they're more than likely happy to help out and, fix that problem.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I learned that lesson. Then I bought an actual kit down the road after my car got ran into.
Lessons learned.
Yeah.
All right. Now I gotta ask a really important question. So now we help people know good beginner tips, an area to focus on. But now, what do you guys think is something that you should not do when you first get your car? Because I think this is just as important as something that you should focus on.
Something you should not do?
Something you should not do.
Okay. Well, I would honestly...
Don't cut your springs.
Yeah.
Don't do it.
Well, do you mean more modification wise or just in general?
In general, whatever you want to put out there.
I would recommend kind of taking your time to learn the car. Taking your time to kind of drive the car, kind of get and feel with it, because I've driven many cars over the course of my life, and each car handles very, very differently. The first week I got my car, I went up to the mountains and went up to these really, really sharp snake roads. Ended up it was like an asphalt road, and I got over into it. It turned into a dirt road, and I started drifting the car a little bit. And at that moment, I didn't know what my car was capable of.
Right.
And when I started drifting, I had my back wheels fly off a cliff. I somehow gained traction and ran into a dirt mound because I didn't know what my car's limit was. So I personally would recommend just kind of taking the time to learn how your car drives, how it feels, what the limit of your car is. Because if you're going to take a corner, for example, if you're taking a corner at 40 miles an hour in a truck, it's going to handle differently. In a truck or a Camry or any other sports car, it's going to handle differently than it would in for example, an FRS or a A4 or anything like that. So yeah,
I completely agree. And I think doing your research is really important on that. Sometimes driving the car beforehand is going to be just as important as afterwards, because once you start modifying your car, changing up tires, it's going to feel different, suspension, anything really. Your car is going to feel different. It's good for you to have a baseline to know what your car is supposed to feel like, so that once you start making those modifications, you know that everything's still all right. Or if something's gone completely wrong and you need to go to your mechanic and get it checked out.
Yeah, I agree.
I think the other thing too that I would have to say, when you get your car and you're new to it, and let's say you went from a Camry to an STI, which is a pretty big difference in everything, I would have to say. But one thing I have noticed with new drivers or new people getting into the car community, getting that first project car, we all know driving fast is fun. But, there's always a time and place to drive fast. And, you don't need to weave in and out of traffic and go 60 down, a main road when it's 35. I think a lot of people tend to get carried away with that as well. I guess that would be my advice. It's okay to drive the speed limit. It's okay to, just enjoy the car cruising. But, the moment you have that chance where you can, do a pull or something and there's not a ton of people around, I think that's totally fine. But, if you're in a crowded area or in a city, it's probably better not to, because you're not just going to annoy other people. It's right. You're probably going to get called on or something. There's always going to be that, I guess we would call Karen, out there. And I think that's really important for, newcomers into the communities. You don't have to drive it at max speed all the time.
Yeah, it's okay to drive your car like a normal person. You don't need to show off all the time. It's okay to just go the speed limit sometimes. Just go for a regular cruise.
Mm-hmm.
And I completely agree. When you have a chance, not too many people around. Don't endanger other people for your own fun. That's a big rule. If you want to have fun, there's no problem with that. But don't put other people's lives at risk. That doesn't make any sense, and it's irresponsible of you. So just keep that in mind whenever you're getting into a new car. Okay, I think we are all set for tonight. I want to give this time now for Andrew and Daniel for them to plug their social media. So if you guys want to go ahead, plug your social medias, anything else that you would want to shout out.
My Instagram and TikTok is A4 Society, and I just want to thank pretty much all my sponsors that have kind of helped me through building this car as well. Just they've been a big support, and I wouldn't be here without them today.
Yeah. For me, it's just B8 Bella on Instagram, and I think on TikTok it's B8 Bella as well. I don't have any sponsors, so no shout outs there, but if someone's listening, I would not mind it.
Okay, you guys heard it here first. Thank you so much, Andrew and Daniel, for coming on for the first episode of Car Scene Discussions. You guys have been fantastic. Great talk, great information spread today. I want to thank everyone for joining me for this episode of Car Scene Discussions. Remember that you can join our guest list by emailing bluebrz@gmail.com or messaging me on Instagram @bluebrz here. Don't forget to come back next week for our next episode of Car Scene Photography. I'm Eli, and I'm wishing you all a lovely night. Take care, everyone.